In the part 1 of this story, it seemed Charity was only complaining about what her husband was not doing right. But over time, her habit of complaining all the time grew into what seems to be hatred for her husband. Charity's complaining habit turned to hatred and nagging unknowingly to her. She came into their room one night and got pissed off because her husband put her own pillow between his two legs. She snatched the pillow from him, marched on top of him as she was climbing the bed, and instead of lying down properly as usual, she chose to put her head upside down and one of her legs resting on her husband's pillow, almost pushing him down. Mr. Tony, her husband, became uncomfortable and removed her legs from behind him. When he touched her leg, she became mad at him and refused to adjust. Mr. Tony was not happy and he got up, followed by Charity, and the next thing was shouting from both of them. Remember the biblical command which says that wives should honor their husbands and that husbands should be considerate as they live with their wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner, and that by so doing nothing will hinder their prayers. This is a command that Tony and Charity has forgotten so easily after 3 months of their marriage. At night, Mr. Tony could not sleep that he was awake almost all through the night. At a point, he decided to wake the wife up for them to discuss and make peace. The thought of many things kept him awake. The thought that peace has left his home all of a sudden because there is no longer proper understanding of one another between him and his wife. He tapped his wife and she got up, followed by him. Both of them sat in the bed to discuss. This is a moment that I thought that this family would have come to the stage of maturity, but someone crept in. The unforgiving power and the power that knows no peace saturated the atmosphere as usual. Immediately, Mr. Tony started talking to his wife in a gentle tone and manner. The wife refused to heed to his words. She got upset and told him to keep his peacemaking to himself. Mr. Tony made more effort to make her understand that there is need for them to understand each other. In the course of this, Mr. Tony got angry because his wife Charity gave no room for peace. It was obvious the weather was not clear for Charity last night when the husband called her up from sleep for peace talk. Now it is morning almost. Charity woke up first, expecting to see the husband by her side. He was not there when she moved her hands across the bed to touch him. She noticed that he went down to the floor to sleep after their quarrel last night. She woke him up and it seemed she was having a change of mind, willing to make peace. The husband was already troubled that during the time this was happening, he was not ready to listen to her. When she woke him up, he actually got up, leaning on his elbow, and inquired to know why she has decided to disturb his sleep. Before she could answer him, he had turned away from her, lying back to sleep. Charity got pissed off because her husband ignored her. She started shouting at him and cursing him. She told him that he should be happy that she changed her mind to consider his plea, but he took it for granted. She started saying all manner of things to get Mr. Tony talk back, but he ignored her and told her to let him be. Ignoring her got her more pissed off, and she said that she will never let him have rest. She pushed him and went after his pillow. She snatched the pillow from his head. Mr. Tony got up and collected the second pillow, leaving the first one for her, but she started dragging it with him. Another day in the morning, Mr. Tony was in the bed taking tea. He drank the tea and dropped the cup. After that, he picked up the bread to untie it. When he wanted to drink the tea the second time, Charity came out from inner room, ready for quarrel. She dragged a cup of tea away from him and started scolding. She asked him to tell her where people sit in the bed to eat food. She said that it is only children that sit in the bed to eat and mess up everywhere. The next thing, she moved to snatch the bread away from him, but he collected it very fast. She started abusing his mother for not giving him proper home training. She said that all his mother knew how to do was to get pregnant and push a baby out. Mr. Tony got up angrily, but he has never forgotten his promise never to hit his wife. She said to him, "Husband, hit me. I want to see you hit me one day and you will see the color I am made of." At a point, the hungry husband started asking for his cup of tea, but she refused to give it to him. After some days, a friend of Charity visited her and she started telling her what she was passing through in her marriage. After explaining everything to her friend and expecting her friend to condemn her husband's way of life, her friend gave her the best advice she needed. It wasn't what she was expecting, but that was all she needed to hear that moment. Her friend Peace started by asking her questions. She asked Charity to know if she touches her husband's phone without her husband stopping her. Charity recalled the past. She remembered when she was in the bedroom with her husband. The husband was using his phone and dropped it after. Charity collected the phone to check for something, but the husband did not stop her and the phone was not on password. After recalling that, her friend asked her another question. She asked her if her husband has ever stopped her from using or touching his phone. She said yes and remembered an incident. One day she was with her husband in the bedroom. Both of them were using their laptops and we are so busy. At a point, Charity turned to pick pick her husband's phone, but her husband refused. She said that her husband stopped allowing her to touch his phones and he has put password on his phone, and she cannot explain why. Peace, her friend, knew that her husband may have started seeing another woman outside his home because of his wife's character. That was why he has put password on his phone. Peace refused to tell her that, but she went straight to what will solve the issue. She told her that her husband did not do well by not keeping the house clean, but her approach to such case was wrong. She told her that no man, no matter how young, poor or rich, wants to be shouted at or insulted by a woman. Her being the wife made it worse. Even if her husband can take it from another woman out there, not from his wife that he expects to respect him. He told her that most men did not grow up doing house chores or keeping the house clean, but if you talk to them with respect, most of them will be willing to follow your instructions. She told her that most men follow instructions from their wives as long as there is love, but they will be adamant and will see you as a rival when you choose to speak to them with disrespect. She told her to go and honor the man that God has given her and watch him show her the love that she has been missing. The next day, Mr. Tony was answering call from his client and was very upset. In the course of the call making, he hit his hand on a cup of water on the table and the cup fell from his hand and the water spilled on the floor. Immediately, the sound of the cup made Charity to rush out. As soon as Tony saw Charity, he knew that the house would be on fire. He dropped the call immediately and rushed to the bedroom to get a mop to mop the floor. He came out mopping the floor and has not heard Charity's voice. Next thing, something strange happened. Charity went to collect the mop from him to his greatest surprise. She took the mop from him and started mopping the floor gently. Tony cannot remember the last time the wife did something like this. He was surprised looking at the wife mopping the floor. Just like Peace told Charity, no man wants to be shouted at or insulted. It is true that some men are bad, but in this case, it is obvious that Mr. Tony loved his wife. Not every man will have their wives stand before them and insult them. Not all men will have their wives insult their mother before them, no matter what, but Mr. Tony got that from his wife. Please let us open our eyes well to see when we are bringing in trouble by ourselves into our marriages and when trouble comes on its own. Mr. Tony sat down in the bed with a great surprise. After mopping the floor, Charity returned the mop to where her husband picked it from. Charity moved back into the inner room, staring at the husband, and that was to tell him that she is sorry for all her insults on him and that she is ready to discuss things out other than shouting at him. Nagging has taken away the joy in so many families. Please share this video so that you will help us to set some families free. God bless you and see you next Friday.